In this month's Around the Table, Dana, Cheri, and Robin chat about belonging and why it matters.
So welcome to the Deepening Communities Around the Table Zoom. Tonight we're going to talk about experiencing belonging. But first, we're going to check in and see how everybody is tonight. Robin, how are you coming in tonight?
I think I am coming in grateful for this past almost week with our baby who turned 25. She came home for her birthday. This is Abby. And she came home for an early birthday weekend and ended up staying for a good 5 to 6, almost 6 days. So it was really sweet to have time with her. So I'm feeling really grateful for that.
Yeah. It sounds like you did lots of sweet things with her.
We did.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. Made the most of the time and tried to do all the things that she really loves.
That's awesome. How about you, Dana? How are you coming in tonight, friend?
I'm coming in with my fingers smelling like basil because I was out watering what's left of my summer garden and relishing all the little bits that are still left. And I have these big, huge tomatoes that are still green on my tomato vines, a lot of them. And so my prayer is that they start to turn red before the first frost. That's how I'm coming in, hopeful for more tomatoes.
Hurry up, little guys. You can do it.
Wow.
How about you, Robin? How about you, Cheri? How are you coming in?
You know what? I am coming in feeling incredibly grateful to be able to sit in a chair. Because
that's big.
It's big. It is big. Because a couple of weeks ago, while the men were away, I fell and did something to my hamstring that put me in excruciating pain. So I have been slowly healing every day. And today is the first day that I get to sit in a chair without a pillow and without all kinds of props. So I am exhaling with relief that I can start to do the things that I love to do again. So
yay.
Yeah, that just feels good.
Progress. Feels like healing. Feels like progress.
Yeah. And no pain. So I like to avoid the pain. So we would love to hear how all of you are coming in tonight. If you would go ahead and put that in the chat. Let us know how you're coming in tonight. We'd be grateful. We'd love to hear that. And although we can't really monitor the chat, Hannah's watching, so she will check in with you.
And we read that later.
We do read that later. Yeah. We enjoy that.
Yes, we do. Totally.
And we feel like we're missing it in the midst of the Zoom. But so belonging. It's so interesting. Around Zoe, as many of you know, we talk a lot about the ingredients of love. And they are validation, acceptance, worth, belonging, and significance. And tonight we're going to talk about belonging because it's a hugely important part of love. And so when we started talking so very intentionally about belonging, probably over the summertime, as we were talking about moving in that direction for some other things within Zoe, it was Maggie and I were having a conversation, and she was talking about what she how she's experienced belonging, what she thought belonging was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about what she was sharing. And she's not here tonight because of a football game for her son. So we miss her dearly. So it was so interesting hearing what she thought. And my thoughts immediately went to redemptive community. And Hannah will put that link in the chat for you. The tenets of redemptive community: knowing and being known, embracing each other, sticking together through the hard stuff, the whole list of things that are redemptive community. And I was thinking, that sounds like belonging to me because that's what I've experienced here. And so if you can just imagine my surprise, Maggie and I started talking about that in August. In September, we had the opportunity, my husband and I, to go to California and spend time with a couple and some other friends there that we knew solely online, that we had been Zooming with and emailing with and encouraging as they were doing some things in California that we enjoy and are passionate about here. So that's right. We're walking on the beach and I realize we have done what we've told our kids to never do: meet someone and then go visit them.
Meet someone online
and go visit them. And yet, when we were with them, there's something about that couple and their team. I mean, we are kindred spirits. It's like the Holy Spirit had knit us together before we even knew it.
Mm.
And our truest selves, I mean, I believe it was our truest selves were connected through this desire to help for men and women to experience intimacy with God and with each other, to help, and for us to be able to help each other do that. That was their passion. It's our passion. We love to talk about it. They love to talk about it. They love to be out there doing it. So it's like before we even met them in person, we had already, as Dan Allender said, signed treaties with them. They are our friends and our allies. And we experienced such belonging as we got to experience the things that they love in that area. We didn't need to do any terrific sightseeing, and Disneyland, I think, is out there. That wasn't on the docket. We just wanted to be with them and do the things that they love. And so that's what we experienced in California. And so that experience, combined with a quote that found me wanting to explore belonging all the more. Cheri Snyder says that fitting in has to do with editing ourselves to become like others in order to secure belonging. However, true belonging is the experience of getting to be fully us and having a place in the family or group, all our own, as our true selves. And that's what we experienced with that couple, with the friends that they had there, with some other folks who are in ministry out there. And I just remember having experienced that, and then remembering days of trying to fit in with a certain crowd. I mean, honestly, even initially coming to Zoe and trying to fit in and find our place. It's exhausting. And maybe it's just me, but it felt like something I couldn't achieve on my own. I could strive and I could strive and I could strive, but we're not meant to fit in, right? We're meant to bring our truest selves, to show up as our truest self and move that way. I'm not sure where Robin came up with this quote, or maybe it's just a quote of something Robin said, but true belonging never asks us to change who we are. It is a place that welcomes and needs us to be who we are. And I love that. That sounds, I don't know that it sounds easy, because sometimes that can feel daunting. But that is, that's what I experienced around the Zoe circle. That's what I experienced in California with friends. That's what I experience when I catch up with old friends.
Feels like it takes the pressure off in a way.
It does.
If you're trying to edit and trying to, who do you need me to be? And you know, arranging for, instead of bringing your truest self.
Yeah.
That has a work all of its own.
Right. And it feels maybe a little risky, right? Because will you then be rejected? Your truest self. And can that be okay? But that feels like, I mean, the topic is so big, right? The whole belonging thing huge. And all the facets.
Right.
So what came to your mind as we're, moving through this whole season of talking about belonging?
Yeah. Well, what I guess for me, because there are so many different facets, like you said, Cheri, I really like what you said, what you just said about it never asks us, true belonging never asks us to change who we are. It's a place that demands that we show up who we truly are in our truest self. So I know I feel a more true sense of belonging when I'm able to offer who I really am, my true authentic self. And then when that true authentic self is welcomed and wanted, that feels good. And don't we all feel that way? And I think back of when I was in college and I joined a sorority. And I remember how it felt.
You were in a sorority?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I don't talk about it very much.
Stories about this.
Yeah.
Another time.
It's all bad. But I remember how it felt to wear the t-shirt with the Greek letters of my sorority, along with my other sisters. And I felt like I belonged somewhere in a massive sea of 25,000 students on campus.
Wow.
And yet, ironically, I never really felt a sense of true belonging there because I knew at any moment my status could change or I could be unwelcomed very easily.
Really?
Very easily. And it didn't feel at all secure. No one knew Robin. No one really knew
Right.
my true self. And I only offered parts of me
Mhm.
that I knew were wanted and that I knew would be welcomed.
Mhm.
And I'm really, really, really good at that because
Mm.
that's my story, right?
Yeah.
For those of you who know my story, I learned early on that I could only offer parts of myself, certain parts, curated parts, in order to not be exiled in some way.
So it almost sounds like you were hiding, like it was a safe
Very
harbor to
much.
hide in.
It felt safer to be hidden,
Yeah.
but not known,
No.
not seen.
No.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I didn't feel known.
Right.
And so what I've been curious about lately, as we've been talking about this notion of belonging, is it possible to feel that we truly belong if we aren't really known?
Mm.
And so it got me thinking that there are different sorts of belonging,
Mm-hmm.
even different degrees where we may feel that we belong in a felt sense in our body.
Mm-hmm.
So in one sense, I believe God designed us to belong to each other.
Mm-hmm.
All of us belong always,
Mm-hmm.
where every single human being feels a sense of safety and security, no matter your background, your ethnicity, your religion, your personal theology, how you vote, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
We are meant to belong to each other, to care for each other, no exclusions.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that deep in my bones. And so, and yet in another sense, I know I'm known and seen, the more I'm known and seen more deeply, certainly there's a greater risk, like you said, of rejection, of being rejected or of being unwelcomed. And yet there's also opportunity of being held safely and securely in a way that changes us, that changes me, that changes my brain chemistry, right? As we're learning, that even allows healing to happen.
Yep.
And so consider this with me. Healing is a natural consequence of belonging. This must be the very best sort of belonging. It's like a cycle, or like I picture a water wheel that goes both ways. I don't feel free to offer my true, authentic, creative, free self if I feel unseen, unheard, judged, unwelcomed. And conversely, I can more easily and more freely offer my true, authentic, creative, free self when I'm in environments and with human beings who welcome me for who I am, just as I am, who allow me to flourish and grow and express who I am as a divine image bearer. So it makes me think of the integration that happens when we experience belonging, when we're a part of something that's generative and brings goodness in community, in witness, in togetherness. I know how it feels for me deep in my being when I have that felt sense, even with one person, that I belong in some way. In a sense, even that I belong to myself, my God-breathed truest self. So the irony was that in college, my one true friend that I had wasn't even in my sorority. We couldn't have been more different. This one friend of mine, we could not have been more different in every single way. And, but I felt free with her to be who I was, to be completely honest. I remember thinking, wow, she can handle my unedited self. And that felt really, really good.
Yeah.
And we're still friends to this day.
Yeah, to find that place, that person that you could be with and just be you.
Yeah.
And continue to risk and it be okay if there was offense. Right.
Yeah.
Because you'd be able to talk about it.
Right. Right. That was new for me.
Yeah.
She showed me something new.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
It is. And Robin, as you were talking, I I was thinking too that in places where we're wanted for our true self, I feel like I get to know myself in those places better too. I'm invited to get to know more deeply who am I really,
Yes.
which is a journey in and of itself, as I'm welcomed by people who I feel that they trust me, they want to know me, and vice versa. Yes, I love what you shared. And I love, Cheri, what you said about the ingredients of love worth repeating to me. And it's wrapped up in belonging. Validation, acceptance, worth, belonging, and significance are the ingredients of love. And I love what Kurt Thompson says. This grabbed me so deeply and resonates so deeply with me. We are all born into the world looking for someone who's looking for us. Isn't that good?
Mm-hmm.
I love that too.
Doesn't that speak to belonging?
It does. I know when I'm like, I want that. And at some levels I have that and I want it more deeply. And yes, that's what I'm made for. That's what we're made for. And I think that's the desire of every soul on the planet, Robin, like you were saying. And the other side of that is I think we all experience what it feels like to not belong. And I want to share a story from last week that's really sweet. But first of all, want to just dip into a little bit. A friend of mine had a birthday yesterday, and she's been my friend since I was a brand new Christian. We had our babies together. And so we were texting back and forth yesterday, and I was wishing her happy birthday. And she said, you know what's funny is I have never felt joy at my birthday, and I can't figure out, I've not really ever been able to put my finger on why. And she says, and she's a woman who she has really done a lot of work in her story. She knows that she is God's beloved, and she has walked in a lot of healing. And yet there's always more, right? And she was saying, I'm in tears as I'm thinking about some words that were spoken over me as a little girl that are ringing really loudly this morning. And I just want to sit with that for a while. And I just say that to say it's true to all of our experience, I think. Belonging is opposed.
Mm-hmm.
And so to find some people who we can be ourselves with is such a gift. And last week I experienced one of those gifts. I went up to New York State to visit my family, and they are scattered all over upstate New York. So I did a lot of driving, and it was really good and sweet and hard. And before I went home, I'm like, I'm going to give myself a gift. I'm going to go see this friend whose birthday it was yesterday and spend 2 nights at her house. And we had such a great time of we lost touch with each other for, I don't know, quite a lot of years because of different things in both of our stories, but reconnected, I don't know, maybe about 15 years ago. And it's like we picked up where we left off. But I came to her house, I could just completely exhale, and we played and we hiked and we had deep, wonderful conversation. And then she invited a couple of our other friends to come over. And we just enjoyed, it's like we picked up where we left off. And I got into my car the next day. I just felt filled up and sense of belonging, sense of community, sense of joy. Yeah, I just loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I came away just full, rich, and glad for all the ways that God has given me the gift of belonging and that He's deepening that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
And so
after all those years, right?
just to go back to Kurt's words, yeah, that's what we're born into the world looking for someone who's looking for us.
Mm-hmm.
And have we found that somewhere?
Yeah. And in your stories, and I can't stop thinking about what you said about, we've talked about how love is healing. I mean, love is where healing happens. And you suggested that belonging is also where healing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear that in some of your story, Dana, that you just shared, and how being with them was refreshing and so good for your heart, mind, soul, and body.
Yeah.
That being with people who know you and love you, even though you hadn't seen each other in a while.
Yeah.
That connection.
Yeah. And the hardness of sometimes being with family who you can't, unfortunately, fully be your true self with. It can be exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And to go and have the gift of, breaking out of that. Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
How sweet. Very sweet. Even glimpses of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we get tastes, don't we? We get
Mm-hmm.
tastes and glimpses that leave us wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting too. I was thinking earlier how when we do, it's not like, okay, once I belong in this space, I belong forever.
Mm-hmm.
It feels tentative, doesn't it?
And elusive.
Yes.
Yeah. Like it's so,
Yes.
like you were saying, to be unwelcomed.
Right.
You belonged until you were unwelcomed.
Right.
Right.
So that's a whole other conversation too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when we're moving in our truest self
Mm-hmm.
and we're free to offer and we feel more settled, I think we have a better chance
Mm-hmm.
at being able to move in ways that are less needy and demanding and more able to offer.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And that had me thinking to know where to be okay when you enter into spaces that perhaps you don't belong. And there's a reason you don't belong because it's unhealthy or it's toxic or it's, you have, when we're moving in our true selves, you can almost back away slowly. Like, this is not someplace I belong. This is not, I'm thinking about when you're driving in the wrong place and you don't feel safe at some point. You're like, wow, I don't belong here. And you get yourself someplace safer.
I think that's a true story you're referring to.
It kind of is.
I remember
I'm
that.
thinking of you in a relationship here too. You desired friendship.
Yeah.
And yet it wasn't happening. And for good reason. It wasn't a place where there could be a mutual, safe, secure belonging. So
it was way safer for me and felt way truer to me to just put distance.
Right. And that can be healthy.
Yeah. Better for both of us, for sure. For all involved.
Yeah.
So.
And that can be a lonely place.
Yeah. When you're hopeful for something and it doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah. And we continue to have longing.
Yes.
Yeah. It's how we were made,
Yeah. Of course we do.
Yeah.
When I think of belonging, 2 stories come to mind. First of all, we are brand new in North Carolina. We moved here a year ago and are just still settling in and still finding our places to belong here. So the story I want to share is actually about my kids. We started going to the church that we're at now about 8 months ago, but it was about 6 months into our move. And my kids were sick of being new, but yet we wanted them to have a faith community. They're teenagers. So we bribed them to go to youth group, and they went, and they've kept going after the bribe. But the story about belonging, it's just so beautiful. So they went to youth group one Wednesday night, and the next Sunday we go to church. And keep in mind, we haven't seen a familiar face in a really long time. Every single person seems like a stranger to us, even months into our move. And all of a sudden, walking across the foyer, I hear the youth pastor shout out David and Amy's names from across the foyer. And I almost burst into tears because we were known, we were seen. And it just showed me how important it is to remember people's names and to reach out to them and to say hello, and how even that small act of kindness can help people feel like they belong in a place. The second story is from just last week. My daughter, who's 14, was in a PE accident and had to get stitches on her face and have some work done on her teeth because it was just really rough. And it was hard on her. It was hard on my husband and I as we've been caring for her. You know the drill. It's emergency room and it's exhausting and it's traumatic. But the way people in our community have come around us has given me such a feeling of belonging. Friendships that were already important to me, but those friendships deepened as people reached out with care and love. We had people bring by smoothies. We had people reach out via text and email and phone call. And even I had a woman from a Bible study I'm in at church come over solely to pray over me and ask me how I was doing. And we sat on my front porch for a little while and prayed. And I just felt like belonging to that community as she just cared so kindly for me and my heart and saw me. So I resonate with what Robin talked about, with when we feel seen and known, then there can be a sense of belonging. Cheri shared this quote by Cheri Snyder. Fitting in has to do with editing ourselves to become more like others in order to secure belonging. However, true belonging is the experience of getting to be fully us and having a place in a family or group as our true selves. How does this quote make you feel? Would you share your response with us in the comments? We love hearing from you. I want to share this comment from last month's video. I always love the hearts behind these discussions. Thank you for modeling what a redemptive sisterhood can be. Love you all. Thank you, Cheri. We love you too, friend. And we would love to invite you to our monthly Around the Table Zoom gatherings, where we invite you to share in the second part of the conversation. You can find the link at thedeepeningcommunity.com. If you enjoyed this video, would you share it, like it, and subscribe to Zoe's YouTube channel? Thank you, and see you next time.